Alliance Francais Mike Adenuga Center. In commemoration of Punch's 50th anniversary, we have put together a photo exhibition showcasing exceptional, outstanding, iconic works taken over the decades. We hope that by every piece you see today, lessons are learned, questions are asked, and appreciation is given to it, the art. It will not just be me interviewing people today. Joining me also, sorry, will be Melanie Ishola, and we will be speaking to some art enthusiasts about some of the works in there and how well it resonates with them.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's such a pleasure to host you on such a day like this. And I want to bid you welcome once again to this auspicious occasion. This, as you may know, and if you do not already know, is the photo exhibition of Punch Nigeria Limited in commemoration of our 50th anniversary. And on such a day like this, we say boldly that we make history, and we are really glad that we make this history with you, because these are such memories that we treasure, and we treasure them forevermore. Once again, a round of applause for yourselves as you come. And need I say that the room has been filled with lots of happy people. And if you, of course, consider yourself a very happy person, another round of applause, please, for yourself. Thank you. And the last round of applause would be for the fact that you are looking so gorgeous this morning. Now again, a round of applause. Thank you. That said, my name is Melanie Ishola, and without further ado, I'd like to very quickly go into why we are here, and there's no better person to bid us welcome and tell us why we've come today than the chairman, anniversary committee, Mrs. Wumi Tunde Obe. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Melanie. Hello, everyone, and you're welcome once again to this lovely opening. Our exhibition is called Timeless Lenses, a newspaper's visual journey through Nigeria. So if you look around you, you will notice that we have lots of beautiful, iconic photos. These are meant to enlighten you, educate you, take you through a journey, of nostalgia even. And we hope that as this occasion progresses, we will be able to foster unity and, just get to know a little bit more about our environment and our community. So, without further ado, we cannot talk too much. Here's to 50 years of fearless journalism, reporting truth, and most of all, Punch excellence through pedigree, principles, and promise. Once again, my name is Wumi Tunde Obe. Thank you.
Come on, a resounding round of applause there. Indeed, she did say that, well, I don't talk too much, but I think it's not even in the length of the talk, but the quality of the talk. And you would agree with me, indeed, that that is a welcome. And now that you know, we have our Timeless Lenses, a newspaper's visual journey through Nigeria. And as you have seen, quite a number of very notable and iconic, big, bold pictures that surround you here where we are standing. You'd agree with us when we say that there is indeed a reason to commemorate this with photo exhibition and to celebrate as loud as we deem it fit. Now, again, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished everyone, please, with a resounding clapping ovation, make welcome with me the chairman, Punch Nigeria Limited, Mrs. Angela Emuwa, for the official opening remark of this photo exhibition. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to you all. Today marks a momentous milestone in the history of our esteemed organization, Punch Nigeria Limited. It is a celebration of our 50th anniversary and the remembrance of the passing of our founding chairman, Chief James Olubunmi Abodere, who left us exactly 40 years today. I'd like us to please observe a moment silence in his memory. May his soul continue to rest in perfect peace. He left behind a towering legacy, and with a profound sense of joy and pride, I stand before you, representing not just a company, but a legacy that has withstood the test of time. Each photograph hanging on these walls tells a story. There are moments frozen in time, and they reflect the resilience and the impact that define our journey. It is a testament to the hard work, dedication, and collective spirit that has propelled us to this remarkable milestone. Today, we don't just celebrate 50 years, we celebrate the spirits that have fueled our success, the spirits of truth, reliability, independence, balance, and excellence. To every guest present, I extend a very warm welcome again. Your presence adds a unique dimension to this celebration, and we are honored to share this significant moment with you. Please take your time to immerse yourselves in the rich history displayed on these walls, a journey shaped by the countless individuals who have been a part of our history. Behind the scenes, our dedicated board and steering committees have worked tirelessly to curate this exhibition, and the commitment and passion have breathed life into this exhibition, transforming them into the living narrative of our history. My sincere appreciation goes out to each and every member of the committees for their unwavering dedication. I also want to seize this opportunity to express our deepest gratitude to the backbone of the organization, our members of staff, and in this particular instance, our photographers. So I encourage every one of you to take the time to explore, reflect, and relish the moments captured within these frames. So here's to the next 50 years and beyond. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey, and let the celebration continue. Thank you.
Make it more resounding, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, ma'am. Indeed, the celebrations have begun, and to kickstart the celebration, we have next up introduction to the exhibition. But I know that it is a great moment as well to indeed introduce to us a number of dignitaries that are here present. And I would like to very well, standing on all existing protocols, to introduce the presence of our distinguished MD Emeritus, and that would be Mr. Ademola Oshinubi. Please, a round of applause. Thank you. And next up, I very quickly would like to introduce, of course, you all know him, and if I'm not assuming, a few people are just meeting him for the first time. Please celebrate with me our MD, Punch Nigeria Limited, Mr. Adeyeye Joseph. And in the same breath, I'd like to very quickly recognize and celebrate my General Manager, Digital and Publications, and that is Mr. Ademola Oni. And very well, I see Mrs. Olufolake Migbemoto. She's the General Manager, Human Capital, that would be. And very quickly, without, I apologize, and I didn't jump the gun. I see my madam here, and I very much would like to celebrate. Please celebrate with me the Controller, Punch Nigeria Limited, and that is Madam, I call her, but Mrs. Olukotu. Please, a round of applause as you celebrate her. Now, equally can see the editor, the Daily Punch, that would be Mr. Oketola. Come on, a round of applause as we celebrate him. And I initially saw a one-time, 2 times governor of Ogun State in person of a distinguished journalist and politician, Chief Olusegun Oshoba. Come on, jam your hands together as we celebrate and make him feel welcomed. Now, I would very well like to stand on all existing protocols as I break protocols from time to time, but to not waste our time, ladies and gentlemen, to quickly introduce to you Mr. Steve Ayorinde. I very much just met him, I would say, but then it felt like when you say somebody is kindred spirit, and you may understand it because as journalists, again, yes ma'am, as journalists, again, you realize that what brings us together isn't just the words or the work in itself, but actually a spirit that we all share. I want you to please make welcome with me a very excellent journalist, Mr. Steve Ayorinde, as he introduces us to their curation here today. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, just before that, I very well would like to recognize, celebrate, and make welcome the director, Dr. Mrs. Olubunmi Talabi. Please, a round of applause for. I celebrate you, ma'am. All right, and now all protocols duly observed. Again, I would like to pass the mic over very quickly to Mr. Steve Ayorinde, but I am told that I have a very important message just before I do that. And if I can attend to that very quickly, I crave your indulgences. And that would be, okay. I think I'll be getting to that in due course. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Melanie. And good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a double pleasure to have been given this honor to curate this exhibition. I'm sure that people will expect that I will stand on existing protocol, but I know what protocol means in this instance, and therefore I would like to start by queuing behind Melanie to acknowledge and thank the chairman of Punch Nigeria Limited, Mrs. Angela Emua, for this great occasion, and congratulations on the anniversary of Punch. It's been mentioned, but of course I would also like to acknowledge the MD Emeritus, Mr. Demola Oshinobi, my own boss, MD Editor-in-Chief of the Punch, my own brother, Mr. Joseph Adeyeye, Mrs. Wumi Obe, Mrs. Bumi Talabi, and all the top management staff of the Punch here. And of course, still talking about protocol, our own boss and godfather in the media profession, His Excellency Chief Segun Oshoba. We welcome you most heartily. There's actually a little surprise for Chief Oshoba when we go around the exhibition. I'm sure that he will reminisce when he sees that little surprise. So the first part of my job is to introduce what we are here for. It is an exhibition, as it has been mentioned, a commemorative one as part of the 50th anniversary of Punch Nigeria Limited. Many people will know that anniversary actually happened last year, but you know that last year was an election year. It will have been March of 2023, election year, transition year and everything. And the top management of Punch was right to say, let's allow the election to take its course. We will come back to celebrate Punch in a big way. And which bigger way can we have than to have a four-part, I believe, celebration, a football match on Saturday, today's exhibition, a lecture by Professor Wole Soyinka tomorrow, and of course a ball and a dinner on Saturday. Why is today important to start with? It is very important because exactly today, 40 years ago, was when the visionary, the founder, the chairman, very first chairman and the founder of Punch passed on into eternal glory, Chief Olubunmi James Abodere. So to be having this commemorative exhibition 40 years after, on the day that he left, I think that it says a lot about the timeliness, the thoughtfulness, and the celebration that he deserves. We will hear a little bit more about him when we see as part of the works that we have here today. So essentially what we have for this exhibition, Timeless Lenses, Mrs. Obey mentioned, a newspaper's visual journey through Nigeria is what we have called it. And here at this exhibition, which will last for 3 days, by the way, are 50 works. 99.5% of them are executed by journalists of the Punch. Not just ordinary photographers, not just photojournalists alone, but you will see from some of the captions on the works that some of these works were even executed by journalists, reporters, and correspondents, which was part of the innovation that Punch brought into Nigerian journalism. I think the concept at that time, Joseph, you remember, was the concept of mojo, a mobile journalist. You are not just going to the field just to report. You are reporting, you are editing, you are taking photographs, you are doing so many things at the same time. So when people say today that media houses, to stay afloat, will have to think outside the box and things like that, all these things happen at the Punch to prepare journalists for the times that will change, as we progress in life. And that can be a surprise anyway, because this is a newspaper who once elevated into the position of a daily editor, somebody who started his career at the Punch as a photojournalist, So I think that when we now see why it is important to have an exhibition like this, you begin to appreciate that it is not just about the news. The news is also part, the photographs are also part of news. So we have this exhibition in a thematic focus, where we have this side basically will tell us different stories of the Punch, and especially when we come to why the Punch looks like this when we're going around. So we have this side to basically welcome viewers into quiet contemplation about the sort of journey, about the sort of visual engagement, about the sort of societal connect that Punch has championed for 50 years. And then we have on that side, the theme there is essentially black and white. There you will see the story of the gentleman who started it all, and then different shades of stories that Punch has covered, has captured, has promoted over 50 years. The same thing for a few pictures on that side. But when we go out, and you know that an exhibition is not static. The idea is not just to stand in one place and look at a picture forever. The idea will be to move around. And we think that while this is not the main exhibition hall of the Alliance Française, this is the library where intellectual stuff take place. And therefore, it is instructive that this exhibition is taking place here. It's about having a meaning intelligentsia around the exhibition. So when we step out, which we will do shortly, to our right, we will see themes of accidents, of protest, of different issues that were as important in decades past as they are now. And you begin to ask yourself that the role of the newspaper is essentially to capture history in a hurry. So when we now see the exhibits on that side and the ones on the left side, it will look to us like 50 years after, what has changed in Nigeria? People have grown, but the issues are the same thing. When you see protests of Showore in those days, and then you link that to the NSAS of today, or just 2 years ago, the question will be, what has changed? What is important is that there is a newspaper with a conscience that has taken it upon itself to capture, without bias and without drama, everything that has happened in Nigeria. So essentially, this is about saying, have a look in celebrating Punch. This is what Punch has done for 50 years. When you celebrate the editors, when you celebrate journalists with bylines, remember the photojournalists too, who have also done very well and whose contributions matter. And that's where, when we go into this part, you will see sometimes what journalists go through in getting the job done. So that essentially is the story of a newspaper's visual journey through Nigeria. It started, if we are to count from today, 51 years ago, in that enclave around Mangoro in Lagos, Kudet Street, it used to be known as, but of course it transformed to Oluwabodeni Street in Onikpetesi. The first 36 years of Punch Nigeria Limited happened there. And for those who were there, you know that even within Onikpetesi itself, there were transformations. The old office, the new office, the basketball area, you know, the press, different things that when you see this exhibition and the other ones that you will encounter on the website, because we have a lot more than this 50-year on the website. You know, people can begin to reminisce that the things that Punch has survived, the things that Punch has promoted, you know, how Mangoro will continue to be an integral part of Punch Nigeria Limited. Those are the things that we are celebrating. And then, of course, when you now move to the next 16 years, which this picture represents, that is at Magboro. So it is from Mangoro to Magboro. That is the story of Punch. And I think that I should be excited, as I believe that Joseph Adeyeye will be excited, as I believe that Mr. Ademola Oshinubi will be excited, because when you were the editor, when the newspaper moved from Mangoro to Magboro, or you were the MD when the newspaper moved from Mangoro to Magboro, it means that you will continue to be part of the Punch story no matter what. So this is the story of this exhibition, and I believe that you will enjoy it tremendously. So Melanie, that's the first part, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you've done so amazingly. Okay. I mean, I just looked at how you spoke to all of the things and the epochs, you know, for Punch Nigeria Limited, and it's just, I mean, quite informative for somebody like me. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So the second, okay, you'd like to
introduce people. Okay, so while I quickly interject, and I am certain my voice may not be the voice you want to hear right now, but I'd like to make right a number of things before we go into concluding on what Mr. Steve Ayorinde has just built for us right there. And very quickly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I did jump a little bit the other time, and I would like to make it right. And by making it right, there are a few other distinguished individuals I would like to very quickly recognize, and also a number of our guests who have come here today to celebrate with us. And I will, without any particular order, recognize and make welcome the presence of Adelaja, Mr. Adelaja Adedeji from the Department of State Services. And also, please, with a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Now also, Ajoke Yinka Olawuyi from Bicotney Aviation. Please, a round of applause. And that's a lovely haircut you have. You're welcome. Also, quickly, we have Augusta Imoysen, and I apologize if I did murder your name. And that Augusta is from Festival Hotel. Augusta, may we meet you, please? Thank you for coming. Thank you. And very quickly, we have Ayonwusi Fumilayo, and she's from Bicotney Aviation. Ayonwusi, nice to meet you. All right, very quickly, please celebrate with me Mr. Kolakpo Olakpoju from Cable Newspaper Limited. Please, a resounding round of applause that would be. And very quickly as well, we have Love Oyedoku, a distinguished colleague from Plus TV Africa. Please, a round of applause to, yes, Love. Very quickly as well, I'd like to make welcome Mr. Bola Adewale. Mr. Bola Adewale is from Insurance Warehouse. Mr. Bola Adewale, can we have you, please? Also, nice to meet you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And also, very quickly, I'd like to introduce and make welcome Mr. Jide Abraham. Mr. Jide Abraham is from Saraki Protocol. Mr. Jide Abraham, may we please meet you? Okay. Thank you. And without further ado, let me quickly introduce to you Mr. Stanley Evans Mbe. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Stanley Evans, MBE. No, so I think that was one moment where, and I need to share this very seriously, and while I'm not absolving myself of that, but as a newscaster, the first time I saw DR Congo, which is the Democratic Republic of Congo, that would be, and then you could imagine you're going on the news and then on radio, and that was over 10 years ago, and then you go, that's correct. So I think this is one of my Dr. Congo moments. If you would, please forgive that. Once again, it's good to have you, Mr. Stanley Evans, MBE. Thank you very much for coming. It's such a pleasure to have you here, and I hope you're able to share with me what you make of all of this after. Thank you. Also, please make welcome with me very quickly Salisu Umar. Salisu Umar is from Blueprint. Please, Salisu Umar. It's so good to have you, ma'am. And that's a lovely yellow dress you're adorning. Yes, please. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome and celebrate with me Mr. Sulaiman Sani, the personal protocol to Mrs. Saraki. Come on, a round of applause and a resounding clapping ovation to celebrate Mr. Sulaiman Sani. And of course, we have Susan. And this name again, I am not going to murder it. Susan Imohiosen. Thank you, Susan. So that was your sister Augusta I had introduced earlier. Also from the same organization, and that is from Festival. You're not from Festival. Are you guys unrelated? Different organization. Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting our time further, I'd like to very well introduce Olori Omoshalewa Aboderin Olubusi, Director, Punch Nigeria Limited. Make that clap a bit bigger, louder. That's correct, the type I want. And also very quickly, I'd like to make welcome and recognize the presence of Prince Adegoke Olubusi. Come on, jam it together and keep it rolling. Thank you. Very quickly, I'd like to also recognize and introduce Mr. Olumide Inyoda. The former is an ex-puncher, and actually did teach me last year at the Punch Immersion program. It's good to see you again, sir. And also, Mr. Muiwa Adetiba. Mr. Muiwa Adetiba, it's great to have you. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, please, with a clapping ovation, recognize with me. Oh, great. I think I did it all. Come on, jam your hands together and celebrate me. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you. And so while I am being celebrated, I very much would like to very quickly do something I wish I'd done a bit better initially when I'd introduced Mr. Steve Ayoride. And I would quickly go to, please celebrate Mr. Oketola for me. You don't know what he's doing for me. I did. I already did. I did. Please clap for me, sir. Okay, thank you. And as I did say, before we move to the other part of this exhibition today, and it would be the question and answer, and it would also be moderated by Mr. Steve Ayoride, but I'm making right what I didn't quite make right the first time. In case you did not, or you do not know, Mr. Steve Olusheyi Ayoride is the immediate past Commissioner for Tourism, Arts, and Culture in Lagos State, Nigeria. And that was before he was the Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy. And so I have to say this so you understand and appreciate what wealth it brings to this photo exhibition. He's not saying what he does not know. You know that this year we are not grieving for anybody. But this is one man you must grieve for here today. As he tells you, just listen. And if you have questions, ask. And if he asks questions, answer. Are we right? Are we on the same page? Come on, once again, a round of applause for Punch Nigeria Limited. I need to know how much you love Punch, please. Yes, please. Keep it going. We're going to do the kindergarten way. Roll it. Do you want to roll it? Roll it. All right, jam your hands together for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melanie. I think that with the brilliance that she has displayed, we can take a look at the direction of the chairman and the MD editor-in-chief to ask when will Punch TV be on. All right, I'd also like to, they've been acknowledged, but of course, because they are ex-punchers, and I think that this is beautiful, I'd like to, of course, also appreciate them. Prince Muiwa Adetiba, of course, my own boss. Let's give him a round of applause. Boss, I think that the idea of today's news today, TNT, must never die. Please think about that, sir. Olumide Nyoda, we call him Mighty for reasons that I will not disclose here. Please give him a round of applause, please. All right, so we will go very quickly into the guided tour. And with that, we are allowed, especially those on this side, to move closer so that you can have a better view of it. But before then, I would like to invite him to join us, Aremo Olusegun Oshoba, Your Excellency. When he came in before the exhibition started, he wanted to go around, and we respectfully ask him to just hold on a bit when the exhibition opens proper so that we won't have him bear the card by then. So, Your Excellency, please join us on this side. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, like I said earlier, this is an exhibition in thematic silos. This is the first major part that a viewer will encounter, and it tells the story visually of what Punch has been through over different epochs. In doing this, the job of the curator is not to tell the entire story. It's not to spoon-feed the viewer. There's a brochure that everybody will have an opportunity to pick. The curator's text is there. It details practically everything. An abridged version of it is on this other side, which this red drape is protecting. So it means that as you are coming in, you can have a view of what this is all about. Read it first, even if you do not have the brochure. But the brochure explains everything. But a guided tour is always necessary so that we have an idea of why we are here, what you make of the pictures. Ultimately, after quiet contemplation, after going around, will be your own decision. And then you can begin to appreciate what the photographers and the editors must have gone through in selecting either for the cover or for the news pages or any other page in the newspaper, why such newspaper publications are necessary. Where the story started from in Mangoro will be on this side because we needed Mangoro to stay with the visionary and the founding chairman. We'll soon get there. We strategically place all those black and whites there so as people are coming in, you will encounter them. But as I said, here in the middle is possibly the only image or exhibit that is not like a photograph. Is an e-digital image of what Punch looks like. The new logo, the cover of the Punch, the way the pictures are usually placed, which again was one of the innovations on Punch. Anybody who remember the booming era of banks in Nigeria, you see that almost all the covers on a daily basis, Monday to Friday, will be taken over by banks. Usually 3 people whispering into each other's ears at AGMs and everything. And Punch decided, I think this was probably around 2008, 2009, and top management of Punch decided that, listen, if anybody is having AGM and you want to whisper, pay for it. That's it, because we will report your news anyway. And so Punch, since that time, decided that the cover pictures mostly must be landscape and tells a story other than what the text, themselves are saying. So I will imagine that 90-95% of the cover pictures of Punch since that time has maintained that tradition, which was a novelty as at that time. The story of the new logo of the Punch, and I like the fact that it has endured for more than a decade. At what point will Punch need to change it? We don't know because, of course, what works for you, you don't change a winning team. That's what he said. Joseph will remember that brainstorming session that produced this logo in 2008, 2009, and it has remained as the eye candy of Punch newspapers, since that time. But what is most important for this is that this is the symbol of the new Punch in Magboro. Yes, it started at Mangoro, but of course, since 2009, October, when Punch moved to the new site, that a defined, befitting space, sprawling space in Magboro. This is what Punch has been known for. So we thought that this was necessary for people to see and appreciate that for more than a decade, you may not necessarily need to tinker with anything if it's still working. And of course, everybody knows that in the last 20 to 30 years or thereabout, Punch has jealously maintained its lead as the most widely read newspaper in Nigeria. And I think that deserves a round of applause. So very quickly, a few other pictures. They are random. Beside it, it is important. Okay, before I come to Fela, the one next to it is the story of a young man, a Punch journalist, who was brutalized. And you could see, it's not every day that you have an editor, display blood in a newspaper publication. But this is about a journalist with a Punch who was brutalized. Of course, when you read the captions, you can tell the story. We thank the Lord that we didn't lose him. But this is what journalists go through. Many people will remember in 2009 that something close to this also happened during the Dosi rescheduled election when Punch photographer nearly lost, his right eye, his camera seized and everything. So this is part of when we're celebrating photojournalists, either in the war front or in dangerous, expeditions. It is important that we give them their due acknowledgement because it is not always easy. People think that photojournalists are lesser than reporters or correspondents. But as I said earlier, Punch bridged that gap by saying that you can be a mojo, a photographer can become a reporter, and indeed can become an editor, as we have witnessed. And then a reporter can also do the job of a photojournalist. So some of the photos here were also taken by journalists. I think John Achelonu, a few other people also took pictures that went on cover. Besides this, it is important that anything Punch, if you're telling the history, the story of Punch, Ella has to be there. Because as MD is nodding, when things were tough in the 70s, when Punch was new, almost on a daily basis, when Fela went through his trouble, and some of us that were like kids and young and everything, the fact that Punch was consistently putting Fela on cover endeared that newspaper to many people. And of course, that Fela was not just about that big thing that they'll rap and they'll puff. Ambassadors, the intelligentsia class, intellectuals, academics were all followers, of the man. And so Punch achieved two things, appealing to the generality of the people, but even to the academia and the intellectuals, those who, when they write only one single article somewhere, will show that this is an important paper, that you cannot toy with. And so this one represents one of the legion of pictures that Punch celebrated using the struggle of Fela, using everything that he stood for. A few other ones, one that is important here will be part of the story of Punch. Chief Moyo Aboderi, who took over the mantle of leadership as the chairman of Punch from the founder, Chief Olu Aboderi. He had a short stint as a chairman of Punch, but part of what he did at that time was the fact that Evening Punch. Many people might not remember there was Evening Punch. There was Labor Punch at that time, before the Sporting Punch and things like that. Financial Punch too, before they came. This was the day that the first edition of Evening Punch rolled out of the Rondo set. I think that printer was called in those days, and it was a momentous occasion. We do not know what is happening to the media industry these days. Will Evening Punch return? Mr. Editor-in-Chief is in the works. Okay. So a few other things, celebration, carnivals, Marina, Lagos, and this was at the time that there was no, what's that thing that everybody is now using? Drones, to shoot. You have to go somewhere, Stanley, you have to go somewhere, hide there, zoom as much as possible, and take the picture to make a lasting impression. Chief Oshoba will say that there was a little surprise, sir. An important picture that I'm sure that any photojournalist who missed such a picture, or even an editor who missed putting it on cover, would definitely have been sanctioned if he wouldn't have lost his job. Big men, all of them, part of the history of Nigeria, especially of the last 40 years. This was exactly 1 year after the transition of Chief MKO Abiola in 1999, 1 year after. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu had not become Asiwaju at that time, and he had of course, he was just the governor. I think he had spent barely 3 months as governor. His counterpart in Ogun State at that time, our own Aremo Olusegun Oshoba, was there. And of course, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, as at that time, before Kasala burst, was with him. I think that in looking at this picture, the temptation would be just to look at individuals. But it is more than looking at mere individuals. It's about looking at what those individuals represent. And I think that was one of the strengths of Punch Nigeria Limited. Who would have thought that a quarter of a century later, many of these gentlemen will still be around and in different capacities. Capacity that has, that has catapulted one of them to that position that he desired and that he labored for and that he was prophetic about when he said, Emi Loko. Who would have thought that this time, when he was just the governor of Lagos State, that a day like this will come, that Chief Oshoba will be there and will say, I'm going to Abuja. Hey, Mr. President, Ilu Leo, and we complain. Things like that. So this really was an important picture, will continue to be an important picture. And I think that whoever took this picture, you see it there. And the editor that said this should go on cover, both of them deserve a big applause. All right, let's move to the other side, where we have essentially black and white pictures, and they are very, very instructive. Almost all the pictures, as I said earlier, ideally you shouldn't have a curator talk through everything. But if you pick it from that side to this side, there's hardly any of them that you can ignore, that does not have a story. If you start from the one that you'll be facing the door with when you open and you come in, this is where it all started. Compare this logo with what we now have here. This is how punchy was this, 51 years ago. How punchy was it? Graphic artists as at that time felt that, just box them, just box the PUNCH, everything, in squares but then it was meant to be the lively paper for lively minds, But this was what we could get 51 years ago. And then somebody thought that a day like this will come when it won't just be the inside of Punch that will be important, but that road when you get out of your I mean, how many reporters had cars or vehicles at that time? When you get out of the bus on Manguru on the other side, you wait for the vehicles to pass, and you cross over the curb, and then you look left and right, and you pass. This is what you see. The old Kudeti Street, which become number 1 Oluwaboderi Street. I mentioned about the fact that this itself went through different transitions as at that time. This picture will continue to be iconic. There were a few vehicles as at that time when this picture was taken. Whose vehicles were they? Maybe the chairman. Maybe the MD as at that time had an official vehicle. We wouldn't know. But this represents the days of the little beginnings. And we thank the elements that 51 years after, anybody who's now driving through Magboro can see the stark difference between the old Mangoro and the new Magboro. The story of Punch, the story of Nigeria, the story of growth. Very quickly to this side, you know, of all the pictures that we have here, this is the only portrait. And then you may want to argue that this is the most, in quote, ordinary of all the pictures. But it is probably the most intense and the most prophetic. When you take a quiet contemplation to view from afar a picture like this, what do you see beyond the fact that you're looking at the man who had the dream of a newspaper that will become the biggest in Nigeria and possibly one of the biggest in Africa? What will you look at? His forehead, the shape of his nose, the shape of his lips, the chummy dark, cheeks, his hair. The picture is far more than the portraiture. It is the story that is there. You see that the photographer who took it didn't wait for the chairman to look at him directly. That was not the intention of the photographer and not the intention of the person who published it. The intention of the photographer could be, and it's arguable, that he wanted to show that this man was engaging with his subject. And the photographer was not the subject. And in engaging with the subject, you could see that his lips were open, which means that there was an engagement that he was either responding or he has just finished responding. Because he didn't wait for him to look at him full frame, what he did was to capture only one ear. This is an era, that is instructive. This is an era of what a gay can call it law. That I'm unavailable. The intendment here is that the gentleman who is not looking at me, who is busy focusing on the man that he's talking to or whoever he was talking to, was also listening, was also attentive. And the hair represents, attention and attentiveness. But if you now look at the overall thing, there was as an accountant and a banker that he was, the framing also possibly suggested that this is an indication of the type of a professional that the founding chairman wanted for his paper, all tied up. You might argue that, when Punch started, it was Pay 3 Girls. And of course, when you go online to view all the exhibitions, the first daily edition of it, even the first weekend edition, 1973, it was a titillating Pay 3 girl that was on cover before they moved from the cover to Pay 3. But beyond those Pay 3 girls, the chairman was saying, even before the top management, a few years and decades later, decided to change the course and the direction of the newspaper into a serious, business-like, even still appealing to everybody kind of a newspaper. So maybe what this picture was saying was that as a time was coming, that the type of people who will be the helmsmen of my newspaper will look like this, all suited up, good ties, not being loud, nothing outlandish, decent, debonair, cultured, and good-looking, and deep intellectually. I think that is the story of this picture, isn't it? There's nothing more to say about Abacha other than to do your own contemplation. But these represent an era that I'm not sure that any rational person will want for it to return. People toy with the idea of benevolent dictators. But in a democracy, I think that we should perish that thought. Because we can learn from experience, from what has happened. Abacha, Gadunasco, at that time, appreciating, in uniform, appreciating a young dancer, and then all the other people in Babariga and every other thing. This picture tells its own story. Whatever you make of it is left to you. But we come to an important picture here. This was at Pa Alfred Rewani's house in Ikoyi. I think it was a condolence visit. This picture is important, not so much about what the photographer intended, but I think about what the editor who published it wanted to convey. And the mise en scène, as they would say in film, the center of attraction or focus will be Professor Wole Soyinka himself. What will strike the viewer is that how come the photographer didn't think that he should properly compose this picture? And by composition, you know how photographers, do. MD, Edrubai, Chairman, Edrubai, you know, that kind of a thing. But in this picture, there was no attempt to ask Professor Wole Soyinka to drop his mug, the teacup or the coffee cup or whatever, or to drop the book that he was holding, Mudani kind of a thing. There was no attempt. Maybe the photographer was not big enough to make that request of the only Nobel laureate in literature in Nigeria. Maybe he could not enter between Professor Wole Soyinka and Chief Adesanya and say that, but he also realized that if he misses that kind of a picture, he will be in trouble. But again, it goes beyond the ordinary thing that you are looking at, and the gentleman at the back that is trying to peep. Two main things that will strike me as a viewer. If you look at the e-copy of this picture, if you zoom it to the right, at the back of this gentleman is an image of a bird, an owl. And you'll be wondering, how come they didn't think that they should move away from this a yakala bird or something? What is the symbolism of a bird at the back of people who have gone to commiserate with a man who has just passed on? But more importantly will be, what does Professor Wole Soyinka convey in this picture? And it comes to issues, unintended issues that you encounter in a photo news like this. It is said of Professor Wole Soyinka that he hardly drinks water. And you know what we go through about how many bottles of water a day that you have to drink to stay healthy. But this is a man whose 90th birthday we will celebrate in 4 months' time. And he says that I don't have enough space for water in my system. The water that he drinks first will be either this, tea or coffee, and then the red wine, and then the palm wine. He will be 90 in July. But then some other people will say, if you are not gulping down a certain number, of water a day. This is not to make any medical statement. This is to say that there are underlining meanings in pictures. Even if the photographer had not intended it, there are things that you can read into this. How come he was the only one holding a cup of tea and all the other ones were not holding anything, where they were meant to be commiserated? I think that is an important picture. And a Wole Soyinka, and we will see that tomorrow at the lecture. We'll probably have, maybe he just, is telling now. Maybe we will oblige if a Chief Oshoba or Mr. Shinubu says, Prof, on fait your photo, so I just your photo. But ideally, it will imagine that it's your job to take the picture, go and use the one that is the best. I'm not going to stand, and then be posing. An important picture there, and I like the fact that it tells a lot of story. Very quickly, on this other side, MK Abiola, a man of destiny who won an election, but people will say that, maybe after Awolowo, the best president Nigeria never had. But this was his home. Because it was pillar of sport, this picture was about sports. Nigerian coaches going to pay him a visit. As you know, he was the founder of Abiola Babes in those days. And what we have here, that Punch celebrated, like many other newspapers of that time, was the fact that he was pillar of sport. He was probably not even thinking of running as president at that time. But of course, he had everything presidential in him. MK Abiola for you. Now, one of the most tragic and human element kind of pictures in all the exhibits, in all the pictures, Delegiwa's father. And I'm sure that you can imagine here what must have gone through the mind of the photographer when he was taking this picture. A broken man, a man who had lost a son, a brilliant, brilliant journalist in 1986. And he was just basically inconsolable. And this was what the photographer was trying to project. If you didn't know that it was Delegiwa's father, you might be tempted to think that, is this picture similar to what Kevin Carter, the South African journalist who took that Pulitzer Award-winning picture of a Sudanese boy. People thought he was a girl, but a young boy who was struggling to get to where food would be available. But behind him was a vulture. And the story was that this iconic picture, why would the photographer be selling a picture when vulture was waiting to devour the boy? Thankfully, the vulture didn't. He chased the vulture away, and the boy was able to get to where food was supplied. But 4 months after, the gentleman had to terminate himself because of the negativity that trailed that picture of the picture lacked humanity. But this is not the type of that picture. This is about a man who was just inconsolable. And if, yes, he lived, many more years after the son died. If he were to be alive today, I doubt if anything would be able to console him. All that, hopefully, other than the fact that now, just a few weeks ago, the Nigerian government and the law system has said that let's revisit what killed Delegiwa. And what can console us will be that maybe, finally and eventually, justice will still be served for Delegiwa. Brilliant black and white pictures to celebrate Punch at 50. A few other interesting pictures that, Mommy of the Most High, that when you go around, which is the essence of the exhibition, to go around and see what is happening. Protest here and there, brutality here and there, self-explanatory. Sanwo-Eko, Sanwo-Money, this one is titled, but of course, that's the governor of Lagos State, who had to join the NSAS protest as at that time, 2 going to 3 years ago. This, again, is to show the snapshots of the things that we have had to deal with in Nigeria over time. Issues that we dealt with in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. Today, we're still dealing with the same issue. Will protests ever stop? We know what happened yesterday with the NLC protest all over the country. If that protests are not being called off, as of today by this morning, I'm sure that many of the movement of some of us will have been affected. But here we are. What causes protest? The things that we have refused to deal with and make our society truly better. Those are part of the pictures. Last 2 minutes, let's just very quickly look at what we have outside. A bit of celebration here. Of course, when you see caps like this, you know that Christmas is around the corner. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Again, that's in tandem with the theme, an important story. Look at the symbolism of the Bring Back Our Girls protest, Obi Ezekwesili, a few other people, and the gagging of their mouths. Very fantastic picture. It tells the story. The Chibok girls back in full. We know where we are, sadly. Humanity at play here. And you see how he's collecting his arm. Brilliant photograph. It says it all. Let's quickly go outside. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not mind. Okay, so there's a few people that this will be able to take. Like I said, the theme here is the theme of accidents and issues and encounters. So we have that terrible, terrible fire incident, the burning truck. This was in Magboro, close to Punch in Ogun State. And we are still witnessing things like this on a daily basis. I think this was the Lekki fire incident. Helicopter crashing. You know that when we talk of helicopter crashing, it's not limited to Nigeria. We know what happened just recently in America where, 3 important lives of Nigerians were lost. But this was in Lagos State. Things do happen. It's part of life. Same here. Fire. I think last year alone, the fire incidents that Lagos State witnessed went, if you quantify it, it will be in trillions. But we're still dealing with the same issues that we have always dealt with. What news journalists, photographers will continue to do is that they will continue to capture history and document it for posterity. Oh, yes. Beautiful city afloat. I think it was brilliant filmmaker Femi Odugbemi that did something on Makoko, a city afloat. But look at what we have here. One of my best pictures, that we still today, the year of the Lord 2024, we still have shanties and communities like this, and we go there to campaign for them that your life will be better, etc. But this is what we have. Look at this. The bridge there. People live here. People go to school from here. People make a living from here. But this is our story. And we must commend the photographers and the newspapers that keep on highlighting this tragic reality of our life. 1 minute to go. Let's quickly go to that side and round it off. Again, another accident. Do we need to go to that side? Okay, all right. Okay. When we discuss issues of underage voting, who determines who an underage is? Is it the ID card that tells you that you are 18, or can people say you are 18? But again, part of our political reality, it is not new, it has always been there. Who will be the Messiah that will save us from this type of a thing? Like I said earlier, take time to have a read at what captures the essence of the exhibition here. That's the story of Punch, timeless lenses, a newspaper's visual journey through Nigeria. This explains, in a nutshell, what this exhibition is about. But very quickly, a few other ones. I see Showore here. For those who might be wondering, at a point we were wondering that the word revolution, does it have a different meaning from what everybody knows? But then we are now being told that, revolution of ideas can be different from, putting up arms against government. This is part of NSAS, You know what happened when students, I think this was Yabatek in those days, protest, and people have to scale the fences. But can you blame students when a similar photo of the National Assembly exists? You know, people scaling fence when we can't control ourselves as human beings. It's all about protest here. The power of the people is stronger than the people in power. NSAS and police brutality. The picture is the message, and the message is the picture. It has always happened. I think this was this Ojota in Lagos? Protest, yes, Ojota. Protest. And last but not least, this was Ogun State. Sadly, this day of the Lord, we still have classrooms like Nigeria, including Lagos. What was who's the we keep on hoping. This is even worse. Flooding, the issue of flooding. Look at what a young man, Lagos. I think this was in Agege or somewhere. We'll have to go money. Rain is about to start. We prayed for because of and the first drop of rain that came. The day. At your back, this is a rolling dollar, but of course this represents of a coup for show, what Lagos represents. Lulu, this it also imparts knowledge. Particularly this was Punch of the old, not the very old, but Punch of the old before the new phase of Punch. This is mean that whether you are still in Punch or not, the lenses and the will capture and document your last but paper of conscience is always watching, ready to capture anything that we're doing. This is the story of the visual engagements of Punch over the years, 50 years, and I hope that you, well done, sir. I hope that you enjoy, well done, sir, the exhibition. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay, so we have come to the end of the tour. For those who have not gone around, of course, you have the time to go around, appreciate what has been done, appreciate what has brought Punch to this level of commendation and adoration. And I think that for all the editors who made this happen, for all the photojournalists whose works we are celebrating today, I think that we should round this up with a round of applause for all of them.
Indeed. Thank you so much. That round of applause was for everyone and what we've come here to do today. May I please request that we give another round of applause to Mr. Steve Ayorinde. That was quite a huge repository of knowledge, and he did take us through that the most exciting way possible. And I would say he's a fantastic storyteller. And particularly what would stand out for me today was when we got to the story of Dele Giwa's father and how he took his time to literally help all of us conceptualize what that was and understand the kind of pain the man must have felt at the news of his son's death. Again, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished you, I'd like to once again bid you welcome in the midst of the program here today. We are at the photo exhibition commemorating Punch's 50th anniversary. The photo exhibition is tagged Timeless Lenses, a newspaper's visual journey through Nigeria. And if you would agree with me, we just went through a literal journey through the decades, through the expanse of land called Nigeria. And I very well would like to quickly introduce a number of distinguished individuals who met us in the process of doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a round of applause, I'd like to please make welcome with me and recognize and I would begin from home. In Yoruba land, they'd say, Ile Latin Kesho Rode. Charity begins from home. And I would like to very well recognize and introduce Mrs. Omolara Ogunleye. She's the GM, Legal Services, and Head of Subsidiaries. Thank you. Next up, I'd like to introduce Mr. Obafemi Obadari. He's the Chairman, Editorial Board, Punch Nigeria Limited. And also, Mrs. Kemi Ogungbemi. She's the Manager, Adverts, Punch Nigeria Limited. And leaving the home front now, I'll go outside. And I would begin with introducing the Sierra Leone High Commission representative, Mrs. Beatrice K. Kale. Please, a round of applause as we celebrate and make her feel welcome. Also, I'd like to recognize the presence of Mr. Femi Talabi. He's an author, lawyer, and entrepreneur. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Talabi. Very quickly, I'd like to recognize a colleague in the industry, Babajide Awoyinfa, from the News Agency of Nigeria. And also, we have Tola Badamosi, a representative of BDC Communications. Ma'am, you are welcome. And also, we have Jumoke Ogundare, the CEO, ARM. And I very well would like to recognize the presence of Commander Oche, representing the Director of Naval Information, the Rear Admiral Ayovon. Please, a round of applause for Commander Oche. And I have the delectable Dr. Amma. She'd rather go and pass and not be recognized, but I wouldn't let it go. And so she is the co-founder, Africa Sustainable Trade, and founder, Live Abundantly. Please, a round of applause as we celebrate everyone that I did introduce. Now, we move very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the time for us to ask questions, because I do not assume that... Okay, very quickly, we would take a quick break and take a few pictures, absolutely, before we go to questions and answer. And quickly, also, we have the honor of having Chief Edwin Igbokwe, the former General Manager, Punch Nigeria, a former General Manager, Punch Nigeria Limited, in our presence today. Please, a more resounding round of applause. You do not know what it takes to actually serve at Punch Nigeria Limited. All right, that said, they say journalism could be history in a hurry, but we're not going to hurry things so much here today. Let us quickly take a quick break and take pictures and resume back to questions and answers. Jam your hands together to celebrate yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Please, ma'am, Chairman. Yes, Chairman Board of Trustees, Punch Nigeria Limited. Ma'am, please be right here standing. The former Managing Director, Punch Nigeria Limited, Mr. Okay. All directors of Punch Nigeria Limited, please, may I please request the honor of your presence right here. A round of applause as they come here, please. Thank you. May I please ask that the daily editor, Mr. Dayo Oketola, please join? Not yet. Okay. It's just directors. May I please request the presence of Your Excellency, Sir, Chief Olusegun Oshoba. Please, sir. May we have you? Thank you, sir. And of course, this picture would not be a grand and an iconic one without indeed having Mr. Steve Ayorinde. Please, a round of applause for him as he moves. Thank you. That said, we are set. And while the pictures are being taken, I'd like to quickly announce that we have an e-note here and a ledger outside where we would very much love to take your comments, not a feedback really, but want to know how you've experienced our photo exhibition. And this is the first of a 3-day event as it relates to our photo exhibition. We have a lot, quite a lot in the storehouse. If you think that you've seen it all, then you need to come tomorrow. And if you think tomorrow, oh my goodness, I've had my fill, then you need to come the day after. And I think right then, we can have a discussion as to how well has the Punch served you through the decades. Thank you so much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And that would be a wrap on the picture session. Thank you. This is the part where I introduce for the Q&A Yes, this is the part where I introduce for the Q&A, again, Mr. Steve Ayorinde. But of course, it won't be doing this alone. And I'll very well like to introduce and bring upstage and request the honor of the presence of our Managing Director, Editor-in-Chief, Punch Nigeria Limited, Mr. Adeyeye Joseph, as well as Editor The Punch, Mr. Adedayo Oketola, and also the Chief Photographer, Punch Nigeria Limited, Mr. Stanley Ogidi. Sir, may we have you up here. A round of applause, please. Celebrate them as they come. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. The MD, Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Adeyeye Joseph, will join us shortly. Essentially, this segment is just for a little, very short interaction so that if there are clarifications, if there are a few questions that people will, or even observations. Chief Oshoba made an observation before he left, and we'll pass that to the organizing team. So the editor of the paper is here. He approves all the pictures that we go, either on cover or on the news pages. And of course, the photo editor, Stanley Ogidi, is here. The MD will join us shortly, but again, as I said, this is going to be very short. Observations, short interactions, Q&A. And I think Mr. Olumide Yoda wants to start off. Okay, who will be helping us with the microphone?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to start by congratulating Punch on the 50th anniversary, and also to thank you for inviting me. The question I would have asked, I think Steve deliberately set me up, because I asked the question earlier that I was looking for a picture as an ex-puncher, but I couldn't find a picture that represented where we used to gather during our days at Punch. What happened to pictures of Baba Kwamile and the other place? But that's an aside. For me, the question I want to, number one is, how did you decide on the pictures that you selected? Because I used to work at Punch, and I know that there are tons, hundreds of pictures in the library. How did you decide? How did you pick these ones? Why did you pick these ones?
Okay. The MD will add to the answer when it comes. But first thing to establish is there was a committee put together to look to, to have a panoramic view of the collections at the Punch. And as you must have guessed, it won't be an easy thing to select the first 100 that will be part of the exhibition to tell the story of Punch's visual engagement with Nigeria. You know, it's a social relevance kind of a thing. So 100 were selected, 50 of them to be physically viewed here, and then the entire 100 on the website of Punch. You know, the editor or the photo editor or the GM or all the people can argue that there is no photo that does not have an importance. But when you need to exhibit and you have a thematic focus that you are following on, the issues that are relevant now, but they've always been relevant for 5 decades. There are areas that you look at. You look at area of poverty and lack and struggle. You look at area of what affects Punch itself directly. You look at issues of protest, which follows lack and poverty and deprivation. Protest, police brutality. You look at individuals that are big. Your Fela, your MQ Abiola, your Wole Soyinka, your Abacha for all you care because of the roles that he played. Pictures that tell the story of how Punch came about, from Mangoro to Magboro. The individuals that played a part. By the time you list all those things, the first thing you want to do that, even if you list 1,000 pictures, in crossing them out one by one, you are crossing out important pictures so that you leave what you consider to be maybe some of the most important. But every picture is important. And many of the pictures that you have here featured on the cover of Punch at some point or on the first news pages. So it was never an easy task. And you know that you also have editorial preference, namely, you know, from the editor-in-chief to say that this will tell our story better, this will do better, this will, you know, so it was collective decision, but of course, decisions have to be taken. As for Baba Pomile, Mr. Demola Oni, don't run away. They ask about Baba Pomile. I hope that you knows about Baba Pomile. Eh? So come now, come. But you are always sharing blessings.
As a journalist, I knew about Baba Komile, but as an undercover agent, I wasn't actually an active participant. But these are the priests of that particular cathedral. That cathedral, essentially, like some of you would have guessed, was one joint, okay, let me say joint, where our Ogas, I will not mention names now because some of them are alive and they are still around. Where some of our Ogas in those days, we gather. And then they also have proteges in the name of Olumide and Fonsho and Co. I don't know about that. I didn't get, my investigation didn't reveal its own participation. But you have people like, am I permitted to mention names? Like Bolaji, yeah, you know, because Bolaji BJ was actually the chief priest in those days. But I won't mention other names. But people like Fonsho, like Olumide Inyanda, happen to be one of the very active members of that particular cathedral, where they normally worship some bottles before they disappear.
All right, MD, a question was asked by Olumide Inyanda, and we thought that you should round that part of what informed the final selection of these photographs.
Thank you very much. A good question. Once again, a very fine afternoon to you all, and we appreciate the fact that you could take some time off to be with us today. What went into the selection? Simply, one, so Punch is a newspaper. So, and of course in our collection, we have different types of photographs, you know, and we placed a specific a particular premium on photographs that on their own, without the need for long stories and long or lengthy captions, are able to tell the story. And when you look around, you see that some of the photographs you see here tell very compelling stories that perhaps you don't necessarily need, a caption, lengthy or short, to get the essence of the story. So we made that a priority. And then, of course, also, in order to also tell the story of Punch, and Mr. Ayanride has spoken to that in a very eloquent manner. So we also selected photographs that, in our view, would help to deepen the appreciation that's out there for the institutional memory that Punch likes to promote. So those are some of the factors. It's not an exhaustive list. I've only shared two that guided us as we deliberated and took decisions on the photographs that should be exhibited. I hope I've answered your questions well. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Very well answered. We have space for one more question, but if there is also a lady that would like to ask a question, we can take two very quickly. Any other question or observation? I hope nobody's worried that we didn't feature something related to boycotting something. Yeah. One more.
Hello, sir.
Sorry? Akim. Okay. Mr. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Babajide. I work for News Agency of Nigeria, NAN. So I want to ask, how do you plan to continue this storytelling, picture storytelling legacy? It's 50 years now and it has to go on and on. In this digital age of social media, Instagram, Facebook, and everything, we have pictures filtering around. And how do you continue this legacy? What's the strategy, your uniqueness in continuing this legacy? Storytelling.
All right. Thank you. Well, we celebrate that legacy every day with our front page. When you look at the cover of the Punch, particularly during the week, you see that we use photographs lavishly. And for us, to use the analogy of a friend of mine who sometimes wonders very aloud that he sees no need to have a special day to celebrate love on Valentine's Day. And of course, it's just a bit for him to escape his responsibilities. So he says, well, I can celebrate you every day. And I do not need to celebrate you once in a year. But seriously now, so we do that every day with what we do on the front page. Now, we've also gone a step further, and that is to open a special website for the repository of photographs that we have, in our archives that tell very compelling stories. And that website is, you can get to that website when you scan the barcode. It's somewhere in the room, I believe. Scan the barcode. It's also here also. So when you scan the barcode, it takes you straight to the website. And so we have that repository there, and we'll continue to populate it with pictures. And hopefully people like you who would like to know what we've put in place, to sustain what we've done today, will then visit and appreciate what is there. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. In the spirit of affirmative action, as I said, okay, there's a lady.
It's not a question, it's a comment. And, when I was going through, I came in really early, and I saw this picture, the delicate balance. I even took time to note the name. The picture spoke to me. I just want to comment who took the photograph, because I'm sure they didn't pose to take that picture. But yet, you can see the little girl carried, and she's smiling. She's on her way to school early in the morning. And it just shows that even through our struggles as a country, we're happy people. So mine is just a feedback, not a question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope that I have the MD's permission to ask for a few words from Prince Muyiwa Tiba, our boss. I'm sure that he will have one or two sentences to say in wrapping this up. Thank you, sir.
I don't speak too much in public, but I've been ambushed. On a serious note, I thought there will be some photographs that I will see. Can I go on? I expected to see a photograph, for example, of when Fela's house was burnt. I thought I would see that because that was the photograph that made Punch. A couple of days ago, I was discussing with Yemola about the story that went behind the publication of that photograph. How the editor didn't want it published, how some people wanted it published, how the chairman stepped in and all that. And we all know that when that photograph was published, it was taken by this Daily Times photographer. I can't remember. Obi, yes. You know, and from that time onwards, Punch never just took off. So I thought I would come here and see that photograph. I didn't see it. Chief Oshoba was also mentioning that the photographs didn't go far back enough. Yes, those of us who were there 50 years ago, I feel very old now. There are some things that we thought we would see. I like that photograph, for example. The one you showed, that black and white photograph. It brought memories to me. Memories of the time when there were only two vehicles in Punch. You will not believe it. About then had one vehicle. Amuka had one vehicle, and that was it. Then we had pickups, about 2 or 3 pickups that would pick us and drop us in the evenings. So there's a story behind a lot of things that I know that you can't capture, but I thought I'll be able to travel in my mind and see some of those landmarks, you know. They are beautiful photographs here as a journalist. But to tell a story, I didn't quite get that, you know, and that's my observation. I hope when we see other publications, I'm told one is coming out Saturday or something.
Yes, sir.
Maybe there are other stories that I will tell. Because Punch is 50. As a company, it doesn't happen often in Nigeria. As a newspaper, we all know, you know, hardly. So it's a time to celebrate, and I'm happy I'm here today. Edwin was saying that, yes, we all, you know, those of us who were there in 73, very few of us are around now. So we thank God. We thank God for the story of Punch. We thank God for our own story. And we also hope that in 50 years' time, there will still be Punch to be celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We were going to go into a final, but I thought that it wouldn't be fair not to have Chief Igbokwe say one word or two.
I think I'm happy to be here. I had expected this type of thing before now, but being that it has taken place means that there's a revolution to Punch existence. Having said that, I know that Punch has come through so many tribulations before returning and continue returning that position of number 1. I know when we were in so much difficulties, but God, in his infinite mercy, made sure that all those were surmounted. And behold, young ones are here making sure that the flag continue flying. And there's no place that we talk about Punch without foundation members. And I'm happy I was remembered to come around. And all I would say is that Punch, there's no extinguishing of Punch. Punch will continue, and I bet you, even when we are gone, Punch will continue soaring. I am very sure spiritually that has been revealed to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ali Baba, we recognize you, and we say hallelujah. And final, we'd like to invite Ayo Aminu, MD Telegraph, we recognize you. MD Emeritus, sir, Mr. Demola Ashinubi. There is a conspiracy here that you must say a word, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, MD Emeritus says no. So, MD, the task is done. So, Melanie. Okay. All right, that's all about that for the. Okay. All right. So we'll have Dr. Mrs. Talabi to come and help us give the vote of thanks before we call Melanie to come and return to the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you to all our guests for honoring our invitation to celebrate Punch at 50. Please share photos of yourself at this exhibition, post about it, and tag Punch newspapers on all the various social media platforms. Kindly invite other people. The exhibition is still on for another 2 days, so please invite people to come and take advantage of this free immersion into Nigerian history and the history of the nation's widest read, widest circulating daily publication. Thank you to the curator, to all the stakeholders, management and staff, all the freelancers, the consultants. Thank you for all the hard work, all the sleepless nights, the meetings upon meetings. Thank you to all the Punch photojournalists, present and past. This is as much your event as it is a celebration and an honoring of your bravery. If you are here and you're a photojournalist, please can you just come out and take a bow? Let's give you a huge round of applause. Please, if you're a photographer, a photojournalist in any way, please come out and take a bow. Is it the three of you? Okay. Please, a round of applause for them. Please, if we can just focus. I know we're all excited, but please, can we just applaud these gentlemen? Thank you. Yeah, a picture, and I want to be in the picture. Thanks. I'm going to join you in the picture, because I'm also a photojournalist. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So to all our guests, please don't rush away. Please read as many of the captions as you can. Contemplate, reflect on our nation's past and present, and be inspired to take pictures of daily life for the sake of posterity. Thank you ever so much. You're much appreciated. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mogaji Ayo Aminu, MD Telegraph, we recognize you one more time. Thanks for joining us. Melanie, take it away.
Thank you so much, sir. Such a brilliant job you have been doing here. Thank you so much, sirs. And thank you for putting this together at such a time and period like this in Nigeria. I very much would like to quickly recognize Mr. Akim Lasisi, who is a poet and an ex-puncher. And I do not want today to end also without recognizing Mrs. Tai Oshisoya. She's a finance executive in the oil and gas industry. And last but not the least, I'd like to very well introduce and recognize Mrs. Tugbemi, Head of Marketing by Courtney. Now, that said, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you have been of excellent behavior all morning and afternoon. Please, a round of applause for yourselves, please. A round of applause for yourselves. A round of applause. And on that note, I want to draw your attention. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? May I please have your attention? Thank you, sir. Now that I have your attention, I need you to look just adjacent where I am standing, and you would see a screen that is about to show to us a very quick, short documentary that we have tagged Blood, Sweat, and Clicks. It's a documentary on the photojournalism of Punch Nigeria Limited over the past 5 decades. We do ask that you soak in on this as you soak in on your environment, learning and understanding what happened just before you. On that note, I say good afternoon and thank you for having me. My name is Melanie Ishola.
Here is our zealous former photographer, Segun Bakare, who was battered while covering the Ekiti elections. Also, this is our photographer, Kayode Jayola, who was hit on the head by police officers while covering a protest in Lagos. During the NSAS protest, 2 of our multimedia journalists were beaten.
Please do not forget to put in a word. On our tablet here, there is an e-note there, and there is a ledger outside. Do not forget to do that. Thank you. Apologies for interjecting.
For instance, one of our irrepressible photographers, Mr. Segun Bakare, now retired, was beaten blue and black. They are our real heroes. But people don't know that the best of their photos, the ones that brought smiles to the faces of our audience, the one that sparked social change, the one that forced government to make immediate impact where the needs are, came at very huge expense. It came at the expense of their sweat, their blood, and their brutalized bodies. They were beaten.
The Punch is the pioneer in the use of big and bold front page photographs, which do not only convey news, but serve as historical memoirs.
The big bold prints and photographs, especially on the front page.
Another interjection. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst Samantha Gifty Bukari, the Consul General, Ghana. Yes, please. And also the Sierra Leone High Commission, the Consul General, Miss Beatrice K. Kali. Nice to have you.
On the front page. So most of the time, you even get to buy the newspaper, not just because of the story, but also because of the photographs.
At a time when it was unheard of for media organizations to buy equipment for staff, the Punch was first to buy working gadgets like cameras and laptops for photographers.
In the time past, Punch Nigeria Limited has been investing heavily on photojournalists by purchasing cameras, laptops for them, even at a time when other media organizations felt it's the sole responsibility of the photojournalists to fend for themselves. And Punch is still doing that, even as we speak.
Also, we were the first print medium to create a multimedia department that churned out life-changing video content regularly.
We are the pioneer for multimedia content in the print media industry in Nigeria. That's one of the ways we are bragging, especially on our anniversary. And through our work, through the stories that we tell, we have been able to actually showcase to the world some of the most beautiful aspects of being a Nigerian, that the fact that Nigerians go through so much, they are still the best people on earth who are willing to give and give their resources. And through our work, we have been able to showcase unique talents. Yes, and there are so many in Nigeria.
Over the years, our photographers have won numerous media awards and prizes, but setting the pace for others to follow.
Punch Nigeria Limited has always been known for excellence, and our pursuit for excellence has earned us several laurels and awards in the industry. We have won in the Wole Soyinka investigative journalism. We have won Quill Award several times. We have won the Golden Pen Award, sponsored by the Nigerian Bureau severally.
We will come back to speaking with some intellectuals who have graced us with their presence at this photo exhibition. I have with me Mrs.
Ajoke Yinka Olawi
From?
by Courtney Aviation Services, Head Corporate Communications.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. So,
you.
which of these photos resonated with you the most?
Well, a lot of them meet with such an excellent documentation of history. So kudos to Punch, a job well done. Like I mentioned during the program, the one who jumped at me the most was the picture. I think it's tagged the delicate balance. You know, a picture of a young girl going to school with her sister carrying her, and there they are on a plank, just trying to cross through the floods. It just shows our resilience as Nigerians. That picture, yeah, the girl in the picture, the little girl was smiling. And the big sister was really trying to steady herself. Indeed, it's a delicate balance. So yeah, that was the picture that jumped at me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mary.
After one of his episodes with the government. And this is Fela, champion of the downtrodden, being lifted up by the people. And we also have former head of state, Olusegun Obasanjo, during his inauguration in 1976. These are just a few of so many iconic photographs we are proud to have taken over the years, many of whom adorn our expansive walkways at the Punch Place. The courage of our photographers to still tell the story, despite all odds, remains unshaken to date. And if you query how Punch gets pictures others can't, and how we dare to splash it on your faces, here you go.
When Fela's house, when the military descended on Fela's house, no newspaper dared to do what we did. The Punch went all out and, did all it should. Covered the story the way a newspaper should. Unfortunately, when it was happening, we didn't have a photographer to cover it. But we got to know later that one renowned, very well-known ace photographer, freelance photographer in Nigeria, Peter Obi, I think he's dead now. He was all over the place, fantastic human being. Covered the thing and recorded it. Punch went after it, bought the photographs of him, and splashed it the following day. 2 days after, there was bedlam. The military was worried and all of those things. And they wanted the Punch to put all kinds of pressure on the Punch to withdraw the story. We said we wouldn't do it.
Of course, you'd agree that these pictures are a story on their own. You will also attest to the facts of these stories when we say we leave you in no doubt regarding the credibility of our reporting. Thank you for reading, believing, and ingesting us through the years.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a proud production of the Punch Video Unit, and the voice you just heard was the voice of marvelous Agumbi-Ade right here. She's a core member serving, and I am proud, I am very proud, I am ecstatic even on such a day like this. But I wouldn't make this just about marvelous Agumbi-Ade, but about the entire team of Punch Video Unit, the excellent journalists who painstakingly undertook this assignment in just a few days to deliver this excellence. And this is not the only documentary coming. And if I say this, that you need to also look out for our documentaries as part of why you need to come tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after. And keep coming to the Punch. We're online at Mobile Punch, on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. We're on Thread. We have a WhatsApp community. We're on YouTube as well. And we are glad to serve you. My name is Melanie Shola. I'm the head of programs, Punch Video Unit. Thank you very much.
against me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to go over everything. They say the time's supposed to heal ya, but I ain't done much healing. Hello, can you hear me? I'm in California dreaming about who we used to be when we were younger and free. I've forgotten how it felt before the world fell at our feet. There's such a difference between us and a million miles. Hello from
Yes,
the
good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Very good, and you?
Fine, thank you. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Nancy Ene from BDC Communications.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
It's a pleasure.
So, we went in there, you saw all those photos.
Exactly.
Which one of them spoke to you?
Actually, I have a lot of pictures that's actually striped. The Delegiwa's father, and lots of them, they are just awesome. It's not just picture, it actually has kind of message. It communicates. To me, it's looking at all these pictures, not just looking at pictures, it's the message that comes from looking at the pictures.
Can you give me one of those pictures and the message that it communicated to you?
Okay, the one that I actually looked at like twice, 3 times is the little girl a dancer that actually gave the former president a handshake. So, you know, the way people were looking at her for that action, probably it wasn't a planned kind of action, but I think out of her will, she went to shake the president, and every one of them, the aides and all the people beside the president, were actually happy. They were laughing because the girl is bold. She's bold. So that was actually the picture that actually shook me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
In the 5 decades of our existence, our photographers have taken some of the most iconic images the journalism profession has produced. From east to west and north to south, our lenses have captured different epoch-defining moments. Some of these pictures that have made you smile, sad, or shed a tear were taken at the expense of the blood and limbs of our very courageous photographers who seek to write history with the click of their cameras. Here is our zealous former photographer, Segun Bakare, who was battered while covering the Ekiti elections. Also, this is our photographer, Kayode Jayola, who was hit on the head by police officers while covering a protest in Lagos. During the NSAS protest, 2 of our multimedia journalists were beaten, battered, and arrested.
They pounced on us immediately, slapped us, beat us. For over 4 hours, they kept on beating us, hitting the back of their guns on our head, and beating us severely for several hours.
For instance, one of our irrepressible photographers, Mr. Segun Bakare, now retired, was beaten blue and black. They are our real heroes. But people don't know that the best of their photos, the ones that brought smiles to the faces of our audience, the one that sparked social change, the one that forced government to make immediate impact where the needs are, came at very huge expense.
I saw myself at the Punch, and we've seen some of our works in there for over a decade and more. So I want you to speak to which of the picture resonated with you the most. Yes.
Well, the picture of Baba himself, Abodering. You know, I was just telling my wife, I can imagine putting that in a black and white, oil painting. How beautiful it will be. That's the best picture there.
Thank you so much, sir. I know we have heard it from you. Beautiful picture of the Abondary. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
It came at the expense of their sweat, their blood, and their brutalized bodies. They were beaten.
The Punch is the pioneer in the use of big and bold front page photographs, which do not only convey news, but serve as historical memoirs.
The big bold prints and photographs, especially on the front pages of newspapers, happen to be something that Punch Nigeria Limited, publishers of Punch titles, actually pioneered in Nigeria. And the purpose of that is just for people to see the impact of photographs, especially on the front page. So most of the time, you even get to buy the newspaper, not just because of the story, but also because of the photographs.
At a time when it was unheard of for media organizations to buy equipment for staff, the Punch was first to buy working gadgets like cameras and laptops for photographers.
In the time past, Punch Nigeria Limited has been investing heavily on photojournalists by purchasing cameras, laptops for them, even at a time when other media organizations felt it's the sole responsibility of the photojournalists to fend for themselves. And Punch is still doing that, even as we speak.
Also, we were the first print medium to create a multimedia department that churned out life-changing video content regularly.
We are the pioneer for multimedia content in the print media industry in Nigeria. That's one of the ways we are bragging, especially on our anniversary. And through our work, through the stories that we tell, we have been able to actually showcase to the world some of the most beautiful aspects of being a Nigerian, that the fact that Nigerians go through so much, they are still the best people on earth who are willing to give and give their resources. And through our work, we have been able to showcase unique talents. Yes, and there are so many in Nigeria.
Over the years, our photographers have won numerous media awards and prizes, both locally and internationally, setting the pace for others to follow.
Punch Nigeria Limited has always been known for excellence, and our pursuit for excellence has earned us several laurels and awards in the industry. We have won in the Wole Soyinka investigative journalism. We have won Quill Award several times. We have won the Golden Pen Award, sponsored by the Nigerian Bureau severally, and so many other countless awards. We strive to do the extraordinary, not to stand in with the crowd, do our things differently, so that not just pleasing our employers, but also making sure that our audience is captivated with our works.
Now that I have your attention, let me take you on a quick expedition of a few of the iconic pictures taken by our team over the years. Fela, an activist and freedom fighter in the dock during one of his numerous battles with the government. Here, also Fela, a renowned Afrobeat singer whose songs reverberated across the world. But notice, this is an injured Fela sitting beside his equally injured mother, Mrs. Olufumilayo Ransom Kuti, in a courtroom. In this picture, we have the late former president Shehu Shagari decorating the late Gamaliel Onosode. Take a look at the late President Shehu Shagari was arriving at a function, and this is one of the planes of the fleets which
How are you doing today, sir?
Very well, I'm good.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Steve Ayorinde. I'm a journalist.
He was the curator of today's photo exhibition, and it was amazing. If you were here, you would know what I'm talking about. So, sir, most of the photos you curated were quite amazing. In fact, I loved how in-depth you were with most of them.
Yeah.
So which particular picture spoke to you? I know there has to be one.
There were a few. All the pictures were great, and you also know that it's not all the pictures that we selected that came for the exhibition. A few other ones are also on the Punch website. Well, out of the 50 that we have here, a few spoke to me in an intensive way. First will be the humanity in the picture of Dele Giwa's father. How iconic Mr. Dele Giwa was as a topmost journalist who became, unfortunately, the first journalist in this part of the world that will be killed by a parcel bomb. And the picture of, in 1986, of his father, his aged father, on the ground, being inconsolable upon the death of Dele Giwa, captured in black and white, but intensely personal. That spoke to me in more ways than one. You saw grief. You saw a man who was broken. You saw a man who was inconsolable. You saw sadness and disappointment that a topmost journalist could be lost to the system just like that. And in this era, when you lose people in different manners while their aged parents are still alive and they are being consoled, that particular picture touched me very intensely. But Fela's picture also spoke to me, being an arts person that I am, in a special way. Part of the story of the success of Punch Nigeria Limited in the mid to late 70s will be attributed to the stories and the coverage of Fela, especially when the Kalakuta Republic was burned down by soldiers and the unknown soldier saga and things like that. So when you now have a picture of Fela here, with the traditional salute and everything, it tells the story of somebody who can be broken. Somebody who says that system cannot destroy me, no matter what you do. You can take everything away from me, but I'm here for you and no go grieve for anybody. Even as at that time, that was an iconic picture. The pictures of NSAS, because of the things that have refused to go away in Nigeria. NSAS was in 2020, October. This is 2024. Yesterday, there was still a protest that the government was trying to stop by the Nigerian Labour Congress and a few other people. The things that we were protesting about in NSAS, it started with police brutality, but of course it blossomed to the societal issues that were not right. That's this part of what happened yesterday. If NLC had not called off that warning strike for today, many people might not have had the opportunity to be here on time. So the question of protestation and how a media organization engages with it is also a very telling, iconic picture, because those are issues that we have continued to deal with, because somehow we have neglected to deal with the issues that allow such things to crop up. Cost of living, police brutality, government asking you to tighten your belt, whereas they're buying 160 million, vehicles, padded vehicle, and things like that. Basic things about life and livelihood. So those three, without a doubt. But of course, there are other, pictures of, because everything is not about bad. Pictures of life, of hope, of carnivals, of culture, of entertainment. There was one there that says a for show. And I connect with such a picture because as a commissioner in Lagos State, who was also in charge of tourism, arts and culture, that was a theme that we promoted. When we say that ain't no party like the Lagos party, it's about a for show. And when you have some pictures here highlighting that aspect of Lagosians, that in spite of the issues that we are dealing with, in spite of that life is hard, put up a party in Lagos today, you see people, on the floor and everything. So different aspects of life, variegated emotions. That's what this exhibition represents for me. And some pictures do stand out, truly.
Well said, sir, well said. So it's been 50 years of great work from The Punch. Over decades, we have done great work with unbiased journalism, I beg to say so myself. So how has The Punch impacted you?
In more ways than one, a lot of ways. I had a short stay. Short, not too short. I had 7 good years in Punch. And what I say to people is that there's hardly anybody who leaves Punch without going into greatness. I left Punch. I had the opportunity of being a line editor. Punch also gave me an opportunity, even when I had not spent 3 years, an opportunity to go on a study leave abroad for 1 year while still working for them. So as a UK correspondent, as a line editor, I returned, got promoted to the editorial board, and then from there got promoted to the editor of the Daily Title. Those for me, I reached the pinnacle, if you like, of my career there. But leaving Punch, of course, I also became editor-in-chief, managing director elsewhere, became commissioner for information and strategy in Lagos State, and then later culture, tourism, and arts. So for me, that seed of greatness was sown at the Punch, from Mangoro to Magboro. And I had the privilege of being the editor when the newspaper transited from the whole site of Mangoro to the new and current befitting site of Magboro. So for me, fond memories of Punch will stay with me, forever. And I must just be grateful. It's about gratitude for me that those 70 years have turned out to be the proverbial, 7 years that will bring greatness. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. I beg your pardon. Well said. In Punch, we do great work. It takes resilience to do what we do. And we have heard so much from Mr. Steve Ayorinde. Drop your comments if there are questions you want to ask after seeing some of the photos, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.